Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
You're watching.
We're watching. You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy. Fanboy.
Fanboy.
Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
This is the first time I ever get to chat with this man, and I am more than happy to do so. He is in France, I'm in the United States, and thank God for the power of technology, we get to have this conversation. Vincent Vermignon, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm very good. What about you? I'm good.
I am great. You are in this HBO Max limited drama series, The Staircase. You're going to be in Off the Record with Colin Firth. You've got so much going on. You've been on BBC's Luther, CBS's Random. You're a very busy man.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough, to make a living out of this job, and I'm very happy, to make a living out of my passion. My passion is acting. I've been doing that for a while, and I'm so excited about the release of The Staircase as well.
When your bio was sent to me, they said you were bilingual, but you're actually a polyglot. You speak 4 languages. You speak English, Spanish, French, and we'll count this as the 4th, but it's a little bit of cheating, Creole, because Creole has a lot of French in there.
Well, it's a mix. It's a mix of Creole, it's a mix of African, it's a mix of different influences, different languages. But this is the same Creole as they speak in Haiti. So, but it's a language itself. It has its own grammar, its own conjugation. It's a proper language. So so that's the 4th one. Yeah.
No, because my mom's from Beirut, so I learned how to speak Arabic from her. But our dialect of Arabic has a lot of Phoenician from the ancient Phoenician, a lot of Aramaic, and it still has a lot of French because it was a French colony. So there's a lot of that going on. So when people are like, "Oh, you speak Arabic?" Yes, but not the Gulf style. So
exactly, yeah.
It's kind of like our Creole, if we want to put it properly.
Exactly,
yeah. But you're acting, you're performing in multiple languages, which gives you an advantage because you can do a French film, a French Canadian film, a Spanish film, a Mexican film. If we need somebody in Louisiana or a Haitian film, you have multiple aspects in able to perform. When you perform in, say, French or Spanish versus English, I know they say the brain takes on a different persona and we almost have a different personality when we speak different languages.
Exactly, yeah.
Does that click for you? It's like, oh, this is more of a character from Cameroon. So we're gonna, if I'm gonna speak French from Cameroon with that West African accent, my personality shifts this way versus if I'm in a Canadian or American film, and then it would have a different tone or attitude, not based on the character, but just in presentation of yourself.
This is so true. Because when you speak Spanish and when you speak English, your demeanor is completely different. The way the way you speak, the tone, even the tune, how loud do you speak? Do I speak louder when I speak French? Do I speak louder when I speak English? And it tells a lot, about the character. But I think in a way it helps me as well, because when I switch languages, I know that I'm getting into somebody else's skin, into somebody else's shoes. I can also do an African accent because, my Creole accent, the French Caribbean accent, has the same root as the African accent. So that's true that I have a wide range, but the fact to speak another language makes it easier for me to get into character, and it's really fun because your brain, as soon as you speak another language, you say, oh, something is happening, something is different, and something unconscious as well, because, a language is so rich about, it's so full of culture, background, history. And when you speak another language, all these subconscious things just, get in your brain, in your subconscious, and it helps, creating a character in a very, very, very easier way. I love, speaking a different language.
And there are certain things that are difficult to translate to English or to French or to Spanish from a different language. For example, with French, people will always say, oh, c'est la vie, oh, that's life. But is it really life or je ne sais quoi? And they're not really, there's something there, but it's difficult to translate it to English, what it means in not only the tone, but the emotion behind the word.
Oh my God, you. I mean, it's so true. It's so true. Speaking other language is not enough. I think that is very important as well when you work and when you wanna create a character is to spend time in France, to spend time in the US. If I had to like an American guy had to spend time, with you guys and to understand how you guys work. And for example, like you spoke about the French language, c'est la vie ou je ne sais quoi. French people love the fact that to leave some romanticism, to leave some I'm gonna say some unknown. We don't have to control everything. If it happens, well. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. But it's quite logical when you think about the French way of life. Like it's very important for French people to take time for leisure, to relax. So what is the point, to work every day if you can't, enjoy life and and spend some time relaxing, and take time to have like a proper lunch. So when you think about that saying, c'est la vie, it's so French because we're gonna take an hour, a proper hour time for lunch, and we're gonna go home at maybe 5 or 6 because we're gonna relax, in the evening, and leave time for the unknown. So it's as you said, it says so much about the culture. All these little things. It says so much. C'est la vie, je ne sais quoi. When the French directors, when they talk about an actor, and they're like, oh, what do you choose this guy? Sometimes they answer, well, he has a je ne sais quoi. And it just happened. C'est la vie. And it's a very French way of thinking.
You grew up in the Caribbean, a small island nation, and to think that, obviously you have this dream from an early age where you're a performer. It's in your blood to be a performer, but to have something bigger than just living an even more relaxed life on the island. When you go into performing and now you have to migrate to France or to, Louisiana or anywhere else in the world, what does that express to you in not only your training, but how you have to expand your worldview?
It's very funny because when I started acting and when I had to migrate to France, for me, coming from a very small island, for me, it was a kind of handicap because I had an accent, I didn't have any network, and I didn't have any, I'm going to say benchmark. I didn't know anybody like before me who did what I wanted to do, And, after some like auditions and when I got cast in a couple of big productions like Luther and this kind of endeavors, I realized that, the fact that I come from a very small island makes my audition or my sensitiveness or I'm going to say my craft, it makes it even more unique. Because in the world, there are only 400,000 people like me, like 400,000 people from Martinique. So what I thought was a handicap, I decided to use my Martinican background in my performances, because we have the French influence, we have the African influence, we have the Caribbean influence, we are so mixed. So I said, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use that background to come with something different. Of course, I can do a French accent, I can do an African accent, but the way I'm going to do it is going to be a bit different because I'm from a small island. So I tried to maximize, to valorize where I come from. And this is what I call, the strength or the blessing of the smalls, because when you're from a small town, when you're from a small island, there are only like a very few people like you in the world. So you're unique, So this is how I see it. And, you can be very small and very open to the world. And this is crazy how the world has been open to me. Right now we're having this conversation about Martinique, which is like just a little dust of, I'm gonna say, land in the Caribbean Sea, and we're talking about it, which is amazing. So yeah, this is how I try to navigate with my background and then to still be very open to what's going to come next.
And then let's reverse it. What's it like now after achieving this success overseas and going back to Martinique just for a visit?
Well, I've been inspired my entire life with Sydney Poitier, for example. Sydney Poitier come from the Bahamas. So of course it's bigger than Martinique, but it's not that much bigger. And it was very important for him to leave something behind. So every time I go back there, I try to transmit my experience, to witness, to share my experience. Some people call it the master class, but I'm no master. I'm just trying to share the experience I've had. But and I think that, when you do something, when you want to achieve goals, if you don't transmit, if you don't give back what the life is giving you every day, like for me, like there's no point for me, like in what I'm doing right now. So every time I visit, I'm so happy to go back home. This is where I recharge my batteries. This is where, I see all my families, my parents, my friends, everybody's there. But at the same time, it's very important for me to give back to, the younger generations, to the youngsters there. And then they're like, oh, well, if Vincent did it, then I can do it as well. And that's for me the most important thing.
And when that happens, not only inspiring the next wave of actors coming out from Martinique, or performers or footballers or basketball players, or whatever they drive forward, what does it feel like, a sense of responsibility? Because those of us that have either immigrated or are children of immigrants tend to feel we have a greater responsibility to the community than if we've been somewhere 7-8 generations.
Yeah. I think there is a kind of responsibility. Like, we are not perfect. We are not. I mean, some people might say, okay, you have to behave this way, because you have to lead by example or something like that, Or I think it's a kind of balance to find. Of course, you can live your life, you can make mistakes, that's fine. But I think it's very important, as I said before, to give back, just to give back. But on a more like generic level, like in life. So if you ask me what's the purpose of life, when I'm going to be, very, very old, I hope that I'll be able to tell myself that, okay, I was useful in my life. So how can I be useful? Of course, it's fantastic, to have this amazing experiences with Colin, Firth, with all these people. This is thrilling, I love my job. But when I think about it, I say, okay, fine, I do it right now, I'm enjoying it. But at the end, how useful I am. And I think that, we can be useful if we can help the younger ones to make a little less mistakes than we are doing right now, just a little less, just to make them, save a bit more time than us, because I think that our parents, they did what they could. So we have to maybe be better, not only on a professional level, but like let us be better men, better women, and after us, let's try to help them save some time to be better men as well.
The beautiful thing with your career is that it's still on the rise and it's still building, and there has to be some sort of joy and thrill where you audition for the role and then you get it, and then you realize it's HBO Max or it's Netflix or it's something bigger than. And I don't ever want to say an independent film isn't big, because some of the best films ever made are independent films, but something that has that tie to it, especially in a modern sense, does it build not necessarily the ego, but the confidence in realizing how well of a performer and how much they respect you?
Yeah, 100%, definitely. Because the thing is, when I started acting, what I wanted to do is that I wanted to, like, one of my objectives were to work with Colin Firth. I saw the King's Speech, and I told myself, one day I'm going to be acting with this guy. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I will. And when I got cast for this part, and when I had my first scene with Colin Firth, and then he came to me and he said, "Well, Vincent, you're like, you're doing great." I'm like, "Fine." I wasn't that wrong, and I was right to keep on that path. And right now, I feel more, of course, confident. It boosted my ego, but I'm gonna say like a good ego. Like right now, I'm in a position where I want to keep moving forward. So before I had a hard time, for example, like saying no to things that I didn't really like. And now I feel more confident about, okay, this is, I have like a clear vision about what is my worth right now as an actor in this industry. And I feel more confident, in saying no to things and yes to others. And I don't know who said that, but sometimes it's good to say no. When you say no, then you have the choice then to say yes. And this is what I'm experiencing right now.
It's fascinating. I always love the immigrant story because, like I said, my parents are immigrants. So I know what my parents went through when they came to the United States. I saw what all my other relatives went through when they came here or they went to Australia. And so the immigrant story is always important to me, whether it's either coming here or going to a different country that's not home, that's the unfamiliar, the unknown. What was 10-year-old Vincent's dream as an actor in wanting to be a part of a project? And now what is adult Vincent's acting dream to work in a project? Since you've already worked with Colin Firth, I think that one's been fulfilled, but something else that goes along with that.
Well, that was my first major experience, like in the US. That was my first major project. And right now, I just want it to be my daily life. I want to normalize it. That's my I'm gonna say my first objective, like to keep working on as ambitious project as the Staircase, to keep on working, on premium TV, premium endeavors. And what I also enjoyed at the Staircase is the complexity of the characters. I love that. So I want to keep, working on this kind of craft where I have to create ambivalent characters, ambivalent stories, ambivalent, I'm going to say stakes. This is what I love. And the experience on the Staircase was amazing about that. So I want to keep working on the same kind of projects. And ultimately, I will also love, you mentioned about the immigration thing, and it's a very important subject for you, and it is the same for me. And ultimately, I would love to create like a production company and to help developing scripts that's going to take place in the Caribbean, because this is an amazing place in the world. You had so much immigration from different countries. You have people from Syria, Africa, Europe. This is a kind of crossroad of civilizations, and you have beautiful stories, that has never been told in the Caribbean, and I would love to produce them. And it's that would be my next dream. Right now people are fond of the Korean cinema, the Korean TV shows, the Korean feature films. And one day I hope that the world will be fond of Caribbean feature films, Caribbean TV shows. That would be the next dream for me.
That would be phenomenal. Okay, so let's take it there then. What would be the first movie you'd want to produce in Martinique then?
Wow, I've already been working with Colin Scott, who I don't know if who wrote God's Country, independent movie that was released last year, and that project wants to talk about the volcano that killed more than 30,000 people in the city of Saint-Pierre in Martinique, and there was only one survivor. And this story is amazing, because Saint-Pierre at that time was the most prosperous city in the Caribbean, and maybe in 10 minutes was just, I'm gonna say, crushed or erased by a volcano. But there was only one survivor, and this survivor finished his life in a circus in the US. And this is an amazing journey. Of course, it's about Martinique, but it's also about resilience. It's about survival. It's about how being alone. It's about post-apocalypse back then. And we are working on this project right now, and we are very thrilled about it. I think that would be the first story that I would love to produce and to work on.
Wow, that sounds phenomenal. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
See, you've planted the seed. That's now I want to see this movie.
Yeah.
As your career grows, as everything works out for you, you know, you have the immigrant story, you have the passion and the culture and the drive of not only this mix of African, Caribbean, French identity that you grew up with, because Martinique is heterogeneous in that regard from all the influences, but now going to France itself, what is the culture shock like? Because there's French influence, but it's not French, you know, it's not Parisian.
Yeah. You are absolutely right. That was a shock. That was a shock for me because, you know, Martinique is a French territory. You know, it's a French island. So we have the French, and in the French papers, we have French cities. But we are 8,000 kilometers away from France. So we have the French laws, we speak French, but it's so different. And I think, you know, in a way, that was the first stage of working on my accent. I had to adapt. So before working in the UK and in the US, that was a first step of adaptation. And I had to work on my accent to work in France. And sometimes I had to work on things that I didn't really understand at the very beginning. But just the fact, you know, to work on a different culture, to make the effort to understand the other, to adapt, then your brain is already getting prepared for the next step. If I can adapt, you know, to France, then it's going to be easier for me to adapt to the UK industry and then to the US industry. And then you're getting more and more flexible. Your brain gets flexible, your body gets flexible, your accent gets flexible. And you know, in Martinique we speak a lot of Creole, but just to, you know, when you have, for example, like if your parents like immigrated in the US, but so from the very early age, you heard two languages. You heard English and another language. So your brain is already used to switch from so it's a gift, you know. So even if it was a struggle, and that was a hurdle that I have to, you know, to overcome, but all these experiences prepared me for what I'm experiencing right now. I'm going to give you like a very quick story. Like my first scene with Colin Firth on the staircase was so stressful. That was 1 a.m. in the morning. That was my first scene, very first scene on the staircase. And that was a one-on-one with Colin Firth. I was so stressed. I was so, in a way, impressed because, you know, when you want something so bad and you're about to touch it, you're about to experience it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. Oh my God, I have to be good. I have to master this. And I thought about all the things I've went through, all the things I've done to be, you know, where I was at this very moment. I thought about France, about the UK, I thought about Martinique, all these things. And I told myself, you know what, Vincent, if you experience all these things and you manage to adapt, you will adapt to the staircase. And you're going to be fine. And this is what I did, you know, when when you think about the obstacles, all the the hurdles, it's sometimes very, I'm gonna say, not painful, but sometimes it's hard. But in fact, we're not realizing that it's preparing us for something bigger.
Is it also interesting that you had to go east to build your
Yeah.
career in order to come back west to live the ideal life?
What do you mean to go
Like
east
you had,
and then to go?
so you're from
Yeah.
the Caribbean, so we're in the
Yeah.
Western Hemisphere. You had to go to France to get
Yeah.
work in France and become the actor that you became, at least build the foundation there, to move to
Yeah.
London, which is west, then to come back to work in the United States, which is so close to home.
Exactly, but you know what? The thing is, it's also a visa thing, because when I was in Martinique, in Martinique, we, of course, we used to watch a lot of French TV because we're French, but we watched more American TV than French TV for the following reason: is that in the American TV or the American feature films were the only ones where I could see people looking like me. Wesley Snipes, Denzel Washington, all these guys. French TV, we didn't have like black actors like that. So for me, as being a young guy in Martinique, like if I wanted to be an actor, I have to go to the US, because in France is not for me. And what I realized is that for me to get to the US, because of the immigration laws and the visa scheme, I realized that it would be easier for me if I get cast from the UK. This is what I realized. And this is what happened. So what I'm looking for, French speaking person for this part with a Parisian accent, and they cast this character in the UK. So that was a strategy, to go to the UK to be cast, because on the immigration level, it's way easier for a French person to work in the UK, and from the UK then to move back to and then to move east, as you said, and then to work in the US.
Is Martinique still a French territory, similar to Puerto Rico in the United States, where Puerto Ricans are
Exactly.
American citizens, Martinique are French citizens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then it does make sense to go east first.
Yeah.
Yeah. The beautiful part about all this is that it leads to a lot of self-discovery as well, that incorporates in your performance. They always say acting isn't, it's not acting, it's reacting to the situation. And you've had world experience now from that immigrant story of, even though you are a French citizen, moving to France, the mother country itself, learning the customs there to incorporate that into your own experience in the Caribbean, that it just leads to a different type of performance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, in France has such a strong culture, and, France has fantastic authors, like Molière or Corneille or Racine, and it's I took all of that, and there is there is a demeanor, there is a lifestyle, there is a culture, and there is a sophistication as well. And I think that this can live with my Caribbean roots as well. And if I mix it, then I'm going to be a citizen of the world. And then it's you just juggling between these two, between these three, between these four, between these five, and I think it's richer. It's way richer.
So it's almost like feeling from not belonging anywhere to belonging everywhere.
Exactly, but I know where I belong to. Martinique. Martinique is my homeland. This is where I belong. But I'm definitely like a citizen of the world. I can belong, as you said, anywhere. When I went to Atlanta, for example, and because we shot in Atlanta, I felt very comfortable in Atlanta. That was great. The culture is great there. And it's a different culture but I found some bridges with my culture, with my Caribbean culture. Like, for example, like the food. I love the food in Atlanta because the food, like on some, like for example, some meals are very similar to Martinican meals. And I know that it's a big music scene as well, and I feel comfortable. In Martinique, we listen to a lot of hip hop music as well. We and the dancehall music from Jamaica influence as well, like the music that people are listening in Atlanta. For example, like the drill. The drill comes from from the Jamaicans who are living right now in the UK. But originally, like the drill rhythm comes from the Caribbean. And when I went to a nightclub in Atlanta and I heard the drill, I knew the drill because like I felt comfortable because I'm from the Caribbean originally. So all these bridges, I'm like, okay, I feel I can belong, as you said, anywhere. And this is just amazing. Like I'm creating a kind of cultural passport.
And it's showing in your work. That's what's even more important.
Yeah. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be like true to myself and to just to suggest something unique, because auditions, we are so many guys who, like, so many people who want the same thing. We want to get the job, we want to get cast, want to be chosen. So I have to come with something, I'm going to say, different, something unique. And this is what I'm trying to do, to be open to what I'm feeling, to what I'm seeing when I read a scene. And I know that my feeling has been influenced by the French culture, by the Caribbean culture, by the English culture as well, by the British culture as well. So I know that thanks to all the experience I've been through, I will give something different. It might not work, but I know that my performance is going to stand out. I won't be chosen maybe, but it's going to be different.
In certain acting classes or acting schools, they tell you, follow this pattern and it will eventually get you to where you need to be. What aspects of the pattern that they teach you in acting school to follow that you keep as a foundational instrument? And what aspects of that didn't work for you did you cast away and say, no, this is who Vincent is, and this is how Vincent needs to push his ideals and performance forward?
That's a very good question. I think like the thing that helps me the most is to ask the right questions. It's like when you work on a character, when you work on a scene, the key thing is to ask yourself the right question. Like, where does the scene take place? Where does your character comes from? What does he want? What does he want out of the scene? What is his objective? What is the relationship with the other person in the scene? All these questions are going to help you to understand exactly what your characters want and who he or she is. I think that this is the key thing really to understand the scene, and this is what I'm trying to do all the time. And I also believe in rhythm. There is a rhythm in a scene. You have beats, and for me, like a good scene is when you have the right beats, when you have the right rhythm, and when you have the right rhythm. Say, yeah, this sounds nice. That's the rhythm. That's the right rhythm. But what I've cast, I'm gonna say, away, and I don't use, like some people, they're very into the speech, so they believe that the speech is the truth, and this is the path to, I'm gonna say, truthness, or to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it comes from inside and comes from what you feel. I don't think it comes from. Of course, you need some technique, but I think that the technique helps what you're feeling and not the other way around. And I've worked with some people where, when I was in acting school, they were like, Vincent, you have to really pay attention to the speech because the key of the scene is in the speech. But we disagreed on that, so I'm not using it anymore.
I love it. Vincent, I want to make this has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you for the very first time. Once you get this project of the Martinique film about the volcano taking out Saint-Pierre gets off the ground. If you will do me the honor of allowing me to come to the set visit, I will be more than happy to do so and meet you in Martinique to celebrate with you.
Oh, yes. With a real pleasure. That will be my utmost pleasure, really.
Thank you so much. Where can we find you on social media if we want to connect with you?
So it's very easy. It's I'm the only one, you know. As you said, you know, we're quite small, so there's only so like if you type my name, you're gonna find me easily. So it's Vincent the Instagram, so it's Vincent Vermignon, so it's Vermignon. You type my name and you're gonna find me very quickly. Yeah.
Beautiful. Vincent Vermignon, it's been a great pleasure chatting with you. Congratulations on all your current success
Thank you.
and all your
Thank
future
you.
success.
Thank you very much.